Scheduling background tasks can be very useful for your Python application. These tasks allow your app to perform time-based or long-running operations without blocking the main thread or slowing down the user-facing functionality of your app. Background tasks can be used for anything from running recurring jobs like data cleanup or reporting to sending asynchronous emails or other notifications. In this article, we will build background tasks using Celery and RabbitMQ to create a weather notification service which will deliver rain alerts with Slack. But first, let's briefly explore why we would want to use Celery or RabbitMQ in the first place. Why Celery? Celery is a widely used distributed task queue framework for Python applications. Celery handles distributing background tasks to worker processes or nodes, manages their execution reliably, and can scale to hundreds or thousands of jobs per second in production environments. Celery is especially popular in the Python ecosystem because it fits naturally with the language's syntax and it's commonly used in frameworks like Django or Flask. Celery uses familiar concepts, decorators for tasks, Python data structures for messages, and integrates easily with Python's logging, error handling, and testing tools. Its configuration is also Python-based, avoiding the need to learn an entirely separate domain-specific language. Lastly, Celery's architecture is highly flexible. It works with different message brokers such as RabbitMQ, which we will use in this tutorial, Redis, or Amazon SQS, letting the developer pick a broker that best suits their workload and infrastructure. Why RabbitMQ? RabbitMQ is a robust, battle-tested message broker known for its reliability and flexibility. It supports complex routing patterns via exchanges and queues, offers strong delivery guarantees including persistence and acknowledgements, and has excellent interoperability across languages and protocols, for example AMQP, MQTT, STOMP. Despite its strengths, like Celery, RabbitMQ can be complex to set up and maintain compared to alternatives like Redis or cloud-native solutions like AWS SQS. Also, RabbitMQ stores messages on disk by default, which can introduce latency. For simple pub/sub or fire and forget patterns, lighter brokers like NATS or Redis streams might perform better and could be easier to manage. Now let's move on to building our weather notification service. What we will build. In this practical example, we will create a Slack rain notification service which will check the weather forecast every day at 12 p.m. to see whether rain is expected for the next 5 days. We'll need to add 3 different APIs to our project: the OpenWeatherMap API for getting our rain data, the GitHub API, which will act as a simple JSON database to ensure we don't get duplicate notifications, and the Slack API for creating messages. In the last section of this article, we will integrate Celery and RabbitMQ into our application to create the automatic 12 p.m. daily task schedule. Find the full code for this tutorial on GitHub. The file structure of our Python project will look like the diagram below. See the full article to view the code snippet for this. Main.py is the main entry point for our app and will include the code for making the initial request to the OpenWeatherMap API. In the APIS folder, we have 2 separate files, github_data.py and slack.py. These handle saving data to GitHub and creating messages in Slack. Prerequisites and requirements. The steps in this project have been created on macOS running Apple's M2 chip. In particular, later in the Implement Celery and RabbitMQ section, I install and verify RabbitMQ using Homebrew for Mac. But since RabbitMQ is cross-platform, you can also use Linux and Windows. See the official RabbitMQ documentation for more details on installation using other operating systems. This project uses Python 3.10.7, but you can also safely use any later Python version. Everything will be installed with pip inside a virtual environment. Initial Python project setup. First, let's create a Python project in a new directory called Python Celery RabbitMQ. We will also create the core main.py file. You need basic knowledge of Python to have worked with APIs in Python and some basic terminal commands. You need knowledge of GitHub token creation and setting repository permissions. First, let's create a Python project in a new directory called Python Celery RabbitMQ. We will also create the core main.py file. Next, before we start installing our packages with pip, we need to set up our virtual environment. First run python mvenv.venv. Then activate your virtual environment. Now we can install all our required packages: pip install request celery python .mv. In the next section, we will add the code in main.py to make requests to the OpenWeatherMap API.